"Mom, you don't really fit anymore." That's what he said. After 75 years of life, raising him on my own, giving him everything I had, my time, my money, my strength, he looked me in the eye and told me I didn't belong. Not just in his house, in his family. I felt it like a punch, but I didn't show it. Not then. I didn't want to wear the blue shawl that day. It's itchy and it doesn't sit right on my shoulders anymore. But he gave it to me once, back when he still said, "I love you," at the end of phone calls. I wore it hoping he might see me and remember. I stood in front of the mirror, pinning it just so, feeling my hands tremble slightly. Not from age. From nerves. And shame, though I couldn't explain why. It was my son's house. My family. I shouldn't have felt like a guest. The driveway was packed with cars when I arrived. Laughter spilled out from the windows. Warm light. Music. But when I rang the bell, no one answered. I waited. A minute passed. 2. My arms ached from holding the 2 pies, apple and pecan, like every year. Still no answer. So I let myself in. Inside, the house was alive with noise. I stood in the entryway for a moment. No one turned to greet me. No one noticed. I walked into the kitchen. He was there, my son, leaning against the counter, talking with his wife. He didn't even flinch when he saw me. Just a casual glance. "Oh, Mom. You made it." That was it. No smile. No hug. Just those 4 empty words, like I was someone from a different neighborhood who showed up by mistake. I placed the pies down gently on the counter. I waited for someone to say something. A thank you. A compliment. Anything. But his wife just looked at them, then at me. "You didn't bring the usual serving dishes," she said. I felt something cold slide down my spine. Her tone was clipped. Disapproving. Not a question. A complaint. "I thought it'd be easier," I said. "Less cleanup for you." She nodded once and turned away. Didn't even look at me again. I stood there alone. For a second, I didn't know whether to stay standing or move. I found my way to the living room and sat down on the edge of the sofa. I folded my hands. Watched them. My son moved through the kitchen, laughing, talking, grabbing wine glasses. He never looked in my direction. He started talking about his latest investor meeting. We nailed it. They were practically begging to get in. Everyone laughed, clapped him on the back. His friends. His wife's family. They made a circle of praise. I opened my mouth to tell him how proud I was. To ask questions, to listen. But he cut me off. "Let's not bore Mom with shop talk. She doesn't really follow the details." I froze. I used to write his pitches. I edited his grammar when he couldn't spell correctly. I researched investors for him while he slept. And now he thought I couldn't follow? No one defended me. No one said a word. A wine glass was handed to me. Already filled. Red. Dry. Bitter. I don't drink red wine. I never have. But they didn't ask. It was just placed in my hand like I was a piece of furniture. Soon after, they began to set the table. It looked like something out of a magazine, matching napkins, name cards, centerpieces. I looked for my name. It wasn't there. "I'll sit here," I said softly, pointing to a chair at the end. He glanced up. His face changed. "Actually, Mom, can you sit on the patio? We're tight on space inside." The words hit me like ice water. "Outside. It's heated," his wife said. "You'll be more comfortable there." Comfortable. They wanted me gone. Away from the table. Out of the photos. I saw it clear as day. I walked through the glass doors without arguing. Sat at the small table on the patio. Alone. They brought me a plate of food without a word. No explanation. No kindness. Through the window, I saw them laughing. Sharing jokes. Toasting. My grandson leaned over to show something on his phone. Everyone leaned in. No one waved. No one acknowledged me. When dessert came, they brought out a boxed cake from the store. "We thought this would be more modern," his wife said. "The kids don't like pie." I stared at the pies I made. I spent the morning on them. My back ached from bending over the counter. My fingers still smelled of cinnamon and nutmeg. "You could have told me," I said. He shrugged. "You like baking." "It's fine." Fine. I wasn't baking for fun. I baked for them. Because I thought it mattered. Because I thought I mattered. I waited for the right moment. Then I stood up, walked inside to retrieve my shawl. Still, no one looked at me. Except him. He walked over, casual. Like nothing had happened. "Mom," he said. "Maybe it's better if you don't come next time. We're trying to do something different. Lighter." I didn't speak. He went on. "You don't really fit anymore." That was it. That was the moment I knew something in me had shifted. Something big. Something permanent. I nodded. "All right." He looked unsure now. His voice softened. "You okay?" I met his eyes. Calm. Clear. "Just remember this day," I said. "You didn't just lose a dinner guest. You lost your mother. And your future." Then I turned and walked out. The night air was sharp, but it felt cleaner than the house I left. I walked slowly to my car, each step quieter than the last. He has no idea what he just did. Not yet. But he will. Every word he spoke, every glance his wife gave, every laugh they shared without me, it's all etched in my memory now. I won't raise my voice. I won't argue. But I will not be forgotten. And I will not be used again. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the silence of my own home. The kind of silence that hums in your ears and presses against your ribs. I kept replaying every word, every glance, every moment I was made to feel like a burden. I thought maybe it would feel better in the morning. That somehow, with sunlight, the sharpness would fade. But it didn't. If anything, it got worse. Because now there was no distraction. Just me, the quiet, and 75 years of memories crashing down on top of each other. I went to the kitchen, stood in front of the pies I brought home with me. No one touched them. Not even a slice. I reached out and touched the crust of the apple pie. Still soft. Still perfect. I didn't cry. I just wrapped it up and put it in the fridge. Like I'd always done. I walked to my bookshelf. Pulled down the albums. The baby pictures. His first tooth. His first haircut. His graduation. All things I'd shown off with pride. Things I thought he'd one day be proud to share with his children. But I saw now they weren't memories for him. They were only mine. I remembered his first big job interview. How he had nothing to wear, so I sold my wedding ring to buy him a suit. He never knew. And when he landed the job, I was the first person he called. Back then, I was still his first call. Now, I was the last to know anything. I sat down with a notepad. It's something I've always done, write things out. I listed every expense I had covered for him over the years. The down payment on his house. The co-signed business loan. The emergency hospital bills when his son fell off the swing. I paid for those. Quietly. Willingly. Because that's what mothers do. Or so I thought. The list got long. Pages and pages. And still, it wasn't the money that hurt. It was that none of it had ever been enough to earn a seat at his table. I thought about the way his wife looked at me. Polite, sharp, always judging. Like I was messy history she didn't want around. I remember when he first brought her home. She shook my hand like she was meeting a secretary, not the woman who raised the man she claimed to love. At the wedding, I was sat near the back. Not with his father, who didn't even raise him, but at a side table, next to someone from her job. I didn't say anything. I thought it was a mistake. But now I knew better. It wasn't a mistake. It was the beginning. And the words. Those final words. "You don't really fit anymore." They rattled around in my head, louder each time. Like he was trying to push me out of something I built with my own hands. I sat on the edge of my bed, holding one of the many cards he used to make for me as a child. Crayon scribbles. "I love you, Mommy." I had saved every single one. Not because they were pretty, but because they meant something. Back then, his love was loud, eager, full. Now, it was cold. Conditional. Convenient. I spent the next few days in silence. No calls. No texts. No one checking in. I watched the snow start to fall outside. It used to be my favorite time of year. I used to decorate the house top to bottom. Bake until the air was heavy with sugar and spice. But that year, I didn't even pull the decorations out. I walked into the spare room, the one I once filled with toys for when my grandson visited. It hadn't been touched in over a year. Dust had settled where joy used to be. I sat on the edge of the little bed and ran my fingers over the shelf of forgotten books. He used to beg me to read them. Again and again. Even the same page, just to hear my voice. Now, I hadn't heard his voice since that night. I kept thinking maybe he'd call. Maybe he'd realize what he'd said. Maybe he'd miss me. But the phone stayed silent. The silence hurt more than the words. I went through old letters. Birthday cards he stopped writing. Emails that once came weekly, then monthly, then stopped altogether. Each one a breadcrumb leading to now. On the 5th day, I went to my safe. Pulled out the folder marked business. Inside were the papers. The ones he begged me to sign when he started his company. I was the guarantor. The safety net. He needed me back then. He made promises. It's just on paper, Mom. You'll never have to worry about anything. You're protected. Protected. I looked at the documents. Looked at how much I still legally owned. And something shifted inside me. Not out of hate. Not out of revenge. Out of clarity. I opened my laptop. Logged into the shared business account. Everything was still there. My name. My authority. My access. He had never removed it. Probably never thought he needed to. I had never pushed back. Until now. I didn't touch anything yet. But I saw what was possible. And I felt, still. Not angry. Not shaking. Just still. That night, I made a cup of tea. Sat at the kitchen table with all the documents spread in front of me. My heart was quiet. My mind was sharp. He told me I didn't fit anymore. But he built everything on the foundation I gave him. He lived in the house I helped fund. He operated a company I co-signed into existence. He wanted me out. I would grant him that wish. But not how he expected. I made a list. Not of groceries. Not of chores. A list of all the quiet powers I held that he forgot about. Every check I wrote. Every paper I signed. Every thread I sewed into the fabric of his success. He didn't invite me to sit at the table. But he didn't realize I helped build it. And I was done being erased. I spent the rest of the evening organizing everything. I called a former colleague of mine, someone who worked in corporate finance and owed me a favor. He offered help without question. I didn't explain why. I didn't need to. I gathered everything into folders, bank documents, contracts, even old text messages that showed my involvement. Not out of pettiness, but precision. This wasn't about revenge. It was about release. I had carried their burdens long enough. My name had protected them. My silence had enabled them. My heart had forgiven too much. Now, I was just setting things right. I folded the list. Slid it into the folder. Closed the laptop. Tomorrow, I would begin. And he would finally understand what it means to push away the one person who never asked for anything except to be included. The snow had thickened by morning. I stood at the window, watching it pile up in slow, deliberate layers. Each flake fell without urgency, but together, they covered everything. A clean sheet. A quiet erasure. I thought, that's what I need. I made my tea. The same way I've made it for years, 2 sugars, no milk. Simple. Predictable. Like me. Like I've always been. The reliable one. The strong one. The one who never asked for anything. Until now. I opened the folder again. Double-checked everything. Ownership documents. Transfer rights. The banking authorization that gave me access. All still valid. Still legally binding. I had never touched any of it. I trusted him. I believed in him. And he used that belief as a shield, a ladder, a vault. I let him. Not anymore. I picked up the phone. Dialed the corporate attorney he once begged me to meet with when he needed someone to sign the final round of funding. The receptionist recognized my name immediately. Transferred me straight through. "Mrs. Alden," the attorney said. "It's been a while. What can I do for you?" I explained that I wanted to initiate a sale of my shares. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't offer explanations. Just instructions. His silence on the other end of the line lasted a beat too long. May I ask why now? Because I was told I no longer fit. That was all he needed. By noon, the wheels were turning. Paperwork was being prepared. digital signatures ready to be sent. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt efficient. Then I called the bank. The joint business accounts, my name was on them. I had full rights. He'd never bothered to change it. Probably never imagined I'd do anything but stay silent. Yes, I'd like to disable all auto payments linked to these accounts, I said. The representative asked for confirmation. I gave it. Calmly. Precisely. Then came the maintenance account for the house. Another fund I had set up years ago, back when he couldn't afford to replace a leaky roof. I shut it down. That night, I slept. Not deeply, but without that clawing tightness in my chest. The next morning, I checked my email. The documents had arrived. The sale was moving forward. Quietly. Legally. Without warning. I expected a phone call. Some flurry of messages. But nothing came. Until the third day. It was around 10 a.m. I was folding laundry when the phone rang. His name on the screen. I let it ring 3 times before answering. Mom? His voice sounded different. Tight. Uncertain. Yes. He paused. I just got a notice about the accounts. Something's wrong. The auto payment stopped, and the maintenance card isn't working. Did something happen? I sat down. Let the silence stretch. Mom? Yes, I said. I made changes. Why? He didn't ask if I was okay. He didn't apologize. He wanted answers. That's what mattered to him. Because you told me I didn't fit anymore. That's not what I meant. It's what you said. At your dinner table. In front of everyone. He exhaled sharply, like I was being unreasonable. It was a misunderstanding. You know how things get. No, I said. I know exactly how they get. And I've known for years. As I said those words, something stirred in me I hadn't expected, a memory I hadn't touched in decades. My own father, years ago, standing in our tiny kitchen, telling me I had to leave. I was only 16. My mother had just passed, and he said there wasn't room for me anymore. Said I'd figure things out like she would've. I remember the cold that settled in my chest that day. The same cold I felt on my son's patio. History had come full circle. I didn't raise my voice then either. I packed my things and walked out, carrying nothing but my high school books and a bus pass. I had vowed right then that no one under my roof would ever feel unwanted. And now here I was. I got up from the table and opened a drawer that I hadn't touched in years. Inside were old receipts. Stubs from school fees, medical bills, even groceries I used to cover for him during the years he was building something. I ran my fingers across the fading ink. I had sacrificed so much. More than he'd ever remember. Later that day, I received a string of texts. Short. Frantic. Demanding explanations. His wife sent one too. This is extremely unfair. You're making things difficult for everyone. Everyone. That word again. Everyone but me. I didn't reply. Instead, I emailed the final signature authorization for the sale. The attorney confirmed receipt. The deal would be finalized by the end of the week. I remembered the way he laughed that night when I sat outside in the cold. The way he dismissed the pies I baked. The way his wife wrinkled her nose at me like I was an inconvenience. I had felt so small. But I wasn't small. I had just been shrinking myself. And now I wasn't. I took a walk that evening. The snow was deeper. The world was hushed, wrapped in white. I watched a group of children build a snowman. Their laughter reminded me of when he was little, before pride and distance rewrote him. Back when I was still his whole world. That night, my phone rang again. I didn't answer. The voicemail was long, rambling. Mom, please. I didn't mean it like that. You know I love you. Things just got out of hand. Can we meet? Can we talk? Please don't do this. I could have yelled. I could have thrown everything he ever gave me into the fire. But I chose silence. Because silence, unlike shouting, can't be misquoted. The sale went through on Friday. By Monday, the company's board sent him notice. He was no longer majority owner. New leadership would be installed. He hadn't seen it coming. He called again. 6 times. I answered on the 7th. How could you do this to me? His voice was raw. Angry. You did it to yourself, I said. You're ruining my life. No, I said. I'm just stepping out of it. He was silent for a long time. Then, quieter. What do you want? I closed my eyes. I wanted a place at the table. I wanted to matter to you, not just when you needed money or help or backup. I wanted to feel like your mother, not your employee. I didn't mean to make you feel that way. But you did. And I let you. For years. Another pause. Then, a week, I didn't think you'd actually leave. I didn't answer. Because I already had. And in doing so, I found something I thought I'd lost a long time ago. Myself. And I wasn't giving her up again. The fallout came slowly at first, like a crack in glass that deepens without sound, until one day the whole thing shatters. I wasn't prepared for the quiet panic that would seep into the edges of my life. But it came. And not all at once. It started with emails. Short. Formal. Confused. Dear Mrs. Alden, we've noticed a change in account ownership and need to confirm documentation. Then the calls. From board members I hadn't spoken to in years. Polite. Nervous. Asking if I had truly intended to transfer ownership and if I might reconsider. I simply said yes. I confirmed every step. I could hear their hesitation, like they expected me to sound senile. Like they couldn't quite believe I was capable of such a decisive move at my age. But I wasn't confused. I was finished. My son came by the next day. Unannounced. I heard the knock and knew it was him. There's a rhythm to a child's knock you never forget. I opened the door. Let the cold rush in behind him. Mom, he said. We need to talk. He didn't ask if he could come in. He walked right past me, just like he used to as a teenager. Like everything inside my home belonged to him by default. I followed him into the kitchen. He didn't sit. He stood at the counter, back straight, like he was about to give a presentation. You didn't have to go that far, he said. You blindsided everyone. The board, the staff, me. I stayed quiet. And the accounts? Why would you cut off the maintenance? The insurance? You know what that looks like, don't you? Still, I said nothing. I waited. He turned then. His voice wasn't calm anymore. You made me look weak. In front of my wife. My colleagues. My son. There it was. The truth. The shame. I finally spoke. I didn't make you look weak. I stopped protecting you from the consequences of how you treat people. He bristled. You've always protected me. Even when Dad left. You made excuses for everyone. Why no? I answered honestly. Because this time, I'm the one who needs protecting. From you. He laughed sharp, bitter. You think you're the victim here? I think I was, I said. And now I'm done being quiet about it. He sat down finally. Across from me. Looked at me like he was trying to solve a puzzle. You really meant it, didn't you? He asked. You're cutting me out. No, I said. I'm stepping out. There's a difference. His voice got soft suddenly. Mom, I don't know how to fix this. I didn't answer right away. I stood up. Walked to the window. You can't fix something you don't believe was broken, I said. And you don't think anything was wrong until it hurt you. He didn't respond. He left not long after. No hug. No apology. Just silence. The next day, I got a group message from my daughter-in-law. It wasn't even private. Joe, I can't believe you're doing this to your own son. You've embarrassed him. People are talking. Do you even care what this is doing to the family? Then came more. One from his assistant. Whatever happened between you two is hurting a lot of people. Please reconsider. Even my cousin chimed in with a long, guilt-laced message about how disappointed she was in how I handled things. And then the calls started. Angry. Louder. You're ruining your legacy, my son shouted in one voicemail. You built this with me, and now you're tearing it down out of spite. This is childish, his wife texted. You're acting like a victim when you're the one causing the damage. My niece called again. Aunt Joe, people are saying you've lost it. That you're bitter and punishing everyone just because you're lonely. And my brother, who hadn't checked in on me in over a year, finally called to ask, what exactly are you trying to prove? The truth? I wasn't trying to prove anything. I was just finished performing. I almost laughed. Lonely? No. I had been lonely when I was in the room with all of them. That weekend, my grandson called. Just 11 years old, sweet as ever. Grandma, why aren't you coming over? Did you go on vacation? I swallowed hard. No, honey. I just needed some quiet time. Oh. Daddy said you're mad at him. I'm not mad, I said. I'm just tired of being invisible. He didn't understand. He shouldn't have to. But hearing his voice cracked something inside me I thought I'd already hardened. The next week, my daughter-in-law posted a long, vague message online. Family means supporting each other, even when it's hard. It means respect and trust. Some people forget that. Dozens of comments poured in. Some supportive. Others vague enough to avoid accountability. No one said my name. But I was the ghost between every line. One cousin messaged me privately. Are you okay? It was the first time anyone asked that. I wrote back, yes. For the first time in years, I'm okay. The backlash didn't stop. My son tried to salvage the company's reputation. He released a statement about restructuring. Claimed I retired for health reasons. That part stung the most. I wasn't sick. I wasn't frail. I was finally clear. When I didn't show up to Christmas dinner, they called me selfish. When I didn't answer the door on New Year's, they said I was cruel. When I didn't send birthday money, they said I was bitter. But the truth was simpler. I had stopped giving what they demanded without question. And that, to them, was betrayal. So they called me cold. I wasn't cold. I was just done burning. And the warmth I still had, I decided to keep for myself. But the most unexpected thing happened a week later. It started with a letter. Not a text, not a voicemail. An actual handwritten letter in a cream-colored envelope. My name was written in careful, slanted script. I didn't recognize it. It came from a woman named Maggie, a former intern from my son's company. She'd worked there 4 years ago, barely out of college. Dear Mrs. Alden, it began. I hope this doesn't feel intrusive. I just wanted to say thank you. I don't think you ever knew, but the scholarship program you insisted your son create changed my life. I was the first person in my family to graduate. I have a career now. A family. And I never forgot the kindness of a woman I met only once. I read it 3 times. Slowly. Letting the words fill the quiet of my house. She remembered me. Not for the pies I baked or the checks I wrote. But for something small that had grown into something big. And no one in my family knew about it. That night, I made a decision. I wrote Maggie back. Thanked her. I told her she reminded me of who I was, beneath all the roles I had carried like armor. And then I did something I didn't expect from myself. I began writing letters to others. To people I'd helped. To people I remembered. To people I'd once mentored or supported in quiet ways. Some wrote back. Some didn't. But each letter I sent reminded me I had mattered, even when my family pretended I didn't. Meanwhile, my son kept trying. He sent flowers. Emails. Even a framed photo of us from 10 years ago with a note, please, let's go back. But I couldn't go back. Because back meant silence. Back meant being the background. I didn't respond. Eventually, the visits stopped. The messages thinned out. And then one day, I passed him in town. I was walking home from the market. He was pulling out of a parking lot. Our eyes met through the windshield. He didn't wave. I didn't either. But something in his face looked smaller. Not younger, just less certain. I kept walking. Weeks passed. Seasons shifted. I repainted the guest room. I planted lavender out back. I learned to cook new recipes, not because someone asked, but because I wanted to. And then came the pressure. Subtle at first. A neighbor dropping hints. Your son looked really worn down the other day. Maybe he just needs his mom. A family friend calling to check in, then slipping in, he's still your boy, you know. Even my church group got involved. Forgiveness is the path to peace, they told me. Rebuilding is God's work. But they hadn't been told to leave their own family dinner. They hadn't been erased with a sentence. So I nodded politely. I thanked them. And I stayed silent. Because silence is sometimes a boundary, not a wound. One afternoon, I received a package. No return address. Inside was a stack of letters, ones I had written to my son during his childhood. He had kept them all. Neatly stored. He'd mailed them back. A note sat on top. I'm sorry. But I don't know how to be what you need. I held the note in my hands for a long time. And for the first time, I felt peace. Because now, finally, he had told the truth. And I didn't need him to be anything anymore. The house felt bigger. Not empty, just full of space I hadn't claimed before. I hung up paintings I liked, rearranged the furniture, put soft pillows on chairs and fresh flowers in the entry. I stopped checking my phone for messages that never came. Instead, I watched the light change through the curtains. I found quiet music that made me cry in a good way. And sometimes, in the late afternoon, I sat on the porch and thought about my younger self. The girl who once left her father's house with nothing but a bus pass. Who promised to build a better family. Who had tried. Who had done her best. I forgave her. I didn't forgive them. Because forgiveness isn't owed. It's chosen. And I chose peace instead. I still get cards sometimes. From people who say I helped them once, even in small ways. They remember. And that's enough. Sometimes we spend our whole lives waiting to be seen by the people closest to us, forgetting that strangers might see us more clearly. This isn't the ending I imagined. But it's mine. And I'm not afraid of it anymore. If you've ever felt like you don't belong, you're not alone. You don't have to earn love to deserve it. And you don't have to stay somewhere just because you were told it's home. You can choose yourself. You can leave. And still be whole.